Good morning and welcome back to the channel Grand Columbia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live. And I'm here alone today, and I'm here alone because microphone. Whoever said last week that maybe the microphone, the new one, is defective, hit the nail on the head. I was online for about 3 days with tech support, had to send them videos of certain things. And they said, yep, it's the microphone. So I had to return it. They're going to send a new one, probably going to be a couple weeks. So I got this one to work with. Hopefully it sounds good and everything's cool. And it looks like I'm broadcasting. Somebody want to let me know? I see on YouTube, got almost no viewers. But that's because there's no warning on YouTube until I start. And there we go. Wendia, how you doing? Sounds good. Awesome. No echo. Yeah, see, this one working fine. Everybody was telling me last week, it was just hard for me to believe that a brand new microphone, same as this one, came together, that it was bad. But apparently it was bad. There's a reason one sounded like crap and one sounded really good. Coming through on Rumble, coming through on YouTube, everything's great. I'm very surprised that it's coming up on the screen here because I didn't really have that set up. Just got to be a holdover. Good sound, awesome. Yeah, and hopefully we'll have good sound on both of them once I get it set up. You know, I have to point out that, you know, I have no problem with criticism. As a matter of fact, I solicit it, as you know. I ask for people's input. You know, it's like, you know, maybe 75% of it turns out it's like, well, been there, done that. But I get some good information. I certainly look for feedback. But there's a certain amount that, you know, it's kind of like, like finger pointing, you know, it's like, well, it seems really strange that you would have problems with equipment. I'll explain once again. I'm poor, and the equipment is what you guys donate to. I can't afford good equipment to set up what I've set up here with not even the best quality, but mid-range quality equipment to do what I'm doing would take thousands of dollars. I don't have that. I don't have it to spend. So I have to go for bottom of the barrel, $29 microphones, things like that. Except this time around, I splurged. This is a $70 microphone, and the other one, $70 microphone. So it's like low to mid. It's like in between there. Pretty good quality. As you can hear from this microphone, it's good equipment. A lot of people will use this kind of equipment, but things go bad. And previously, as I was winding up for the podcast, I had a couple things kind of cascade failure. You know, if you're familiar with cars, you know, you can have a timing belt break, and then all of a sudden you got bent valves or a trashed engine. You know, it's like you get a cascade failure. And I had a cascade failure between an audio mixer and a microphone. And it created problems, and it kind of hung in there a little bit. The sound quality was really bad, but hung in there, and then it just crapped out. Well, I was planning on upgrading anyway, but you know, the stuff doesn't last forever. Now, if I spent thousands of dollars, if I got a $400 or $500 microphone, that's something you could hand down to your kids and your grandkids. But you know, streaming microphones or podcast microphones that are on the range or even lower than what I can afford, they're not going to last forever. You're lucky if you get a few years out of them. And I got 5 or 6 years out of the last stuff. Now this is, it was dialing in. I was going crazy. I was going crazy because I couldn't figure it out. It's like I got a new mixer, I got new microphones, I got new cables, I've got, yeah, I upgraded everything. I've even got a new monitor for the podcast in particular because I needed something a little larger so I could read it without, like that, like I always had to do, especially if I got somebody with me. We need to see it. So everything was upgraded. I got lighting, I got lots of lighting going on. So it was time. How long will this stuff last? I don't know. But when you have everything brand new, but you're still having these problems, or you're having another set of problems, I mean, yeah, it kind of drove me crazy because I'm not a professional. I'm barely an amateur at this. I don't know what the hell I'm doing with this stuff. I watch YouTube videos. This is a hobby. The hobby that's supported by you guys. All right, enough of that rant. It's about 78 degrees. You're going to have a high of 81 today. You're going to have a low of 62. And the Colombian peso this morning dropped, I don't know, 10, 41.92. It's been hovering right around the 42 range, which is awesome. I'm loving it. As a lot of you know, yesterday was my birthday. I tend not to recognize my birthdays. I've almost never celebrated them. The only time I ever celebrated them is when people inflicted that on me, where I didn't really have a lot of choice. But it was interesting because I was sitting here last night. I got Alexa mouthing off in the other room. So I was sitting here last night getting ready to watch Beetlejuice. And stuff's popping up all over the place. And it occurred to me that, all right, it's my birthday, and 71. And I'm going, holy shit, that's a big number. It's hard to fathom because my entire life, I was convinced, because of the kind of life I had lived, I was convinced that if I made it to 50, that would be amazing. And the other part of that is all my friends died early. I mean, Billy Geiger, I was in Asia at the time, over in the military. I think he was maybe 21 or 22, and he died. Kermit Hilton, very good friend of mine, odd character, but so was I. Guitar buddies, Beatles lovers, both of us. I didn't even get word that he died. I found out when I tried to look him up when I got back from overseas. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but it's like my very best friend died. Everybody died. Family, my sister, brother, everybody died off. And because of the kind of life I lived, which was, I had an eventful life. It would make, if people did movies of lives, it'd probably be, I was convinced I lived 3 lives before I hit 30 because there was so much packed into it. And so I'm sitting there thinking about it and go, how the hell did I get to 70, let alone 70? How did that happen? Hell if I know. And the weird thing is, I mean, I thought I was kind of grinding down, particularly last year when I practically died. I mean, you've heard it ad nauseum. I don't have to tell you again, but it was a rough time, and my health, my energy, and everything was like out to lunch. And the last couple months, doing this meat thing, cheating here and there, potato once in a while, but I'm doing this meat thing, and my energy's coming back. I'm feeling better. I haven't had these bouts of inflammation, various areas like around my heart or lungs or esophagus or whatever. So it's like I started over again. Now, yeah. On one hand, it's like, oh, enough's enough. But yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. Background white against the print message. Yeah, the print messages aren't even supposed to be there. I don't even know why they're coming up. I mentioned that earlier. Just ignore them. I could turn them off, I suppose, but I don't remember. I don't remember where it is to turn it off, and I don't want to take the time to do it here and now. So, we're not going to worry about that. All right, let me take a look at the chat, and then I got some news, and then I got some topics I think are pretty interesting. I'm going to be talking about 5 different festivals in Colombia. Of course, there's a million of them. Every place has a fest. I'm from upstate New York, and there we have, well, I went to school in Naples, New York, and Naples is in the hills or mountains, and there's great vineyards everywhere. Not me, but almost every kid, their first job is out in the field picking grapes. You know, and so we had a grape festival every year. And Avon was, I think it was a corn festival. Every town had an excuse to have a festival. And the rides would come in, and the scumbag carnies trying to rip you off, and you know, so you would have like a weekend or 3 or 4 days of these festivals, and so it'd go from town to town to town. Well, Colombia's like that also, but they go hog wild with their festivals. So I'm going to be talking about that. Before the news, I'm going to take a look at see what the chats are, and then I'll get to a couple headlines, and then we'll talk about the festivals. All right, sounds good. Dan just started. Sounds good. Coming through on Rumble. Good sound. Sound great today. Happy birthday. Thank you, Owen. Turtle, background. Yep, mentioned that one. Chad, happy belated. Thank you. You don't have to. I mean, I really hate birthdays because it's just another day. Most holidays are that way for me because most of my life I've kind of lived alone. And I mean, not entirely, but I don't know. They're just if you're alone, there's not a lot of meaning in holidays. Like if you've got family around you, Christmas is important. If you have a hot girlfriend, Halloween's a thing to do because of the costume you can put her into. You know, it's like different things have different meanings. But when you're alone, what the hell? None of it means anything. All right, so. Jimmy, how you doing? Yep, live on YouTube. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving. Oh, is it really? All right. When's our Thanksgiving? I could go get a turkey. Good excuse to cook up a turkey. I love turkey. Juka, greetings from Finland. Speaking of, thank you very much, Mr. Juka, as always. I appreciate it. What sound is good? Picture is good. Saw Beetlejuice with my girlfriend here in Cali. It was okay. Nothing that knocked my socks off, though. Yeah, it actually didn't get great reviews. And I watched it. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. A couple of the reviews were maybe a little harsh on it. I don't know. I don't expect a lot. And it's like I don't watch a lot. I love movies. It's just that movies have been so crap for the past handful of years. And so many of them are preaching to you, you know, like, you know, it's okay to be gay or it's okay if you want to be a girl. And I don't know what that has to do with like a superhero movie or whatever. It's like, I could care less about any of that crap. But if I'm trying to watch a movie, I'm trying to be entertained. I don't need people to tell me. I know myself. I know what's right for me, and I don't need somebody trying to brainwash me. And it seems like so many movies, that's what's going on. But this one didn't have any of that. It was weird because it was a little out of character for that movie, Beetlejuice. Kind of went off in a different direction, but it was okay. You know, it's like I'm sitting there and I got on my 50-inch TV and I'm kicked back. chilling, and yeah, it was good. It was good. If I were to give it a score, I'd say a 5 out of 10. And these days, that's pretty good. Mr. Ben Lake, good morning. How you doing? Got on late? I can loan a mic for you for a few weeks. Well, it depends. You probably know, everything has to be matched up a certain way. You have you got preamps, and you got phantom power, and you have all this different stuff that, yeah, anyway, I'm in learning mode. Okay, so let's get on with the news. Let's see if I can shrink myself down here. Hey, there we go. And the first one. They caught this woman and her daughter with a pretty major, those two were running a pretty major human trafficking network, gathering women up from here, from Medellin. Well, they were drawing in country girls to Medellin and then shipping them off to South Korea. And they were promising them high wages, great job, set up your future, go there for a year, come back with a boatload of money because of how much they're going to pay you. You could set yourself up in business. And so there wasn't any problem gathering up pretty girls, shipping them off to South Korea. Once they got there, the daughter on the other end would put them to work as hoes. They're prostitutes. They got pregnant, that they were forced to get abortions, and it was kind of a nightmare on that end. This has been going on for a while, but, Colombia, like a lot of countries, are actively trying to find these situations, and found them and caught them, and it's good that they're caught. Pretty scummy situation. And the next thing is here in Armenia. This may not sound like anything to you, but there was a big event. Hundreds of people showed up down at the Chamber of Commerce, where you get your business licenses. They were down at the Chamber of Commerce. Hundreds showed up for a couple seminars and some recruiting for franchising. Franchising is kind of exploding. There's 59 national franchises in Colombia. In a year or two, that'll probably be tripled. And these franchises were offering financing, business help, a lot of volunteerism going on, government workers that are justifying their jobs in a good way to help people understand what it's like to run a real business, a business with customer service and procedures, things like that. So this was quite a thing. They're probably going to have this a couple times a year for the next few years, and it's good to see. All right, next one. If you've ever been on the road from Armenia to Bogota or Armenia to Ibagué, same road, it's where the tunnels are, La Linea. But not only are there tunnels, there's these massive bridges like this one in the picture. And the Cajamarca Bridge is actually going to be closed. And rerouting is a weird thing. Now there's a road going and there's a road coming. So they're going to be slicing this up. I'm not sure how. Traffic is going to be crap. I mean, that's on the 19th, so it's coming up soon. But it caught my eye because the bridges are spectacular. Now, those same bridges would collapse every so often. There were a lot of problems with them, and it was not unusual to have a section of bridge collapse. And the last almost 10 years, they've gone through, rebuilt all of these bridges to the major standards as they were doing the tunnel. They put billions of dollars in this highway. This highway is the main commercial highway from the ports to Bogota. So Armenia is on the edge of that. It doesn't go through here. It kind of goes through Calarca. But we're an offshoot. So I mean, I can jump on there in 5 minutes and get on that highway. So I wanted to mention it because there's a number of people that live here. Keep in mind, if you wanted to use that road on the 19th, I would avoid it because it's going to be kind of ugly. But I also wanted to point out the bridge and tunnels. That it's spectacular. I mean, if you leave Denver and you head west, you go through a series of pretty amazing tunnels, very modern, beautiful tunnels. That's like a pimple on the butt of what goes on here. These things are just crazy, and it's one after another after another. And these aren't short little tunnels. These are, 1-2 miles long. I don't know. They're just, seems like you're in there forever. So I wanted to point that out. All right. Next one. A few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, I mentioned a speckled bear sighting here in Quindío. They exist. You just don't see them very often. Well, another one hit the news, but not for a reason in particular. This is what they look like. I said speckled. Everybody makes that mistake. It's spectacled bear. Because of the markings on the face, it's like they're wearing big old eyeglasses, I guess. Kind of a photo negative of a raccoon. So the reason is where it was seen. Let me see here. I got a map. You see, it's just to the east of Bogota. That's a national park. There's a big reservoir there. And although it's been filling up lately, that reservoir got pretty low, lower than it's been in a few years. And they saw this bear walking in an area that would usually be underwater. And so there was a lot of concern about it and what's going to happen if the bears and other wildlife come in, then the rain, and they're going to, their habitat's going to get flooded. And they worry a lot about anything to do with animals here. But I don't know, spectacled bears are kind of cool. And it reminded me of, do I have it? I don't think I put it in here. Let me look. No, it's not in here. Let me see if I can just play it here. Yeah. There was a TV show that was worldwide famous. It was #1 in the world for a number of years. It was called Top Gear, with these 3 Brits. Quite entertaining. It was sort of about cars, but it was really about other things too. And they quit and they created their own with Amazon called Grand Tour. Now, the reason I bring this up is because they did this one in Colombia, and it was awesome. It was amazing. Well, I'm going to show a little clip because it's got the spectacled bear, so it gives me an excuse. But if you haven't seen it, if you don't know anything about it, you get a chance, find this one on Colombia. I think it's on YouTube. It's an hour long. It might even be a 2-part. I don't remember. I think it might be a 2-part. But it's so well done. It's a travel video for Colombia. Let's see if I can get this stuff.
Welcome to a Grand Tour special in Colombia.
We've been asked to come up with photographs of wild animals.
What could possibly go wrong with that?
Look at this now.
Oh dear.
Bollocks.
This is proper jungle now.
Now that is a great picture.
Bear was pooping.
Oh my
find something tall and metal that would attract the lightning.
Shit, nothing has gone wrong. James, do not throw rocks at us.
Right, go.
Moron.
Highly recommend it. It's awesome. Okay, so now we're going to get to the carnivals. Now, today we've got the GPO or Jeep parade going on. I thought it was yesterday, but I read something and they're saying it's today. It might have got postponed. Some things got postponed this week. Like one of the concerts was postponed a few days. So anyway, it got me to thinking. We're always talking about all the holidays that Colombia has and all the different festivals. And I know some of them, but as I mentioned earlier, different towns have different things. And I thought I would take a look. It's like, what are the top ones? Because I don't want to do 100. So I picked 5 that I think are kind of interesting. Let me get to my notes here. I'm not going to remember all this stuff. All right, let me go back to shrinking myself down here. Haven't been any comments in a while. Everybody's still there. Looks like I'm still broadcasting. All right, shrink myself down. Yeah, I'm paranoid about it. All right, the first one is the Battle of the Flowers. And this is in Barranquilla. So here's a map of Colombia. I got an arrow pointing to it right up there on the coast. It's where, thanks, I'm still here. It's where Shakira is from. Shakira. And here's the deal on the Battle of the Flowers Carnival. Carnival. It began in 1903. It was the end of the 1,000-day war here in Colombia, where tens of thousands of people were killed. And somebody came up with this idea to find a different way to express themselves. And so they set up this thing with Battle with Flowers, Not Bullets, this 1903. And today it's turned into like the Rose Parade kind of thing. And what is it, Pasadena? I think it is in California. It's kind of like that. It's this major event in Barranquilla. It says intricately decorated floats adorned with flowers pass through the streets, accompanied by dancers, musicians, performers. It's part of the larger Barranquilla Carnival, like in Brazil. It's one of the biggest and most colorful events in Colombia. And I thought the way it began was pretty interesting. It's Colombia has a way of dealing with things. And let me show you, I got little like 30-second, 1-minute clips of each of these carnivals. Let me play this one.
The coastal city of Barranquilla has celebrated the 120th anniversary of its traditional Battle of Flowers parade. Dating back to 1903, Battle of the Flowers is one of the most awaited spectacles of the year, characterised by diversity, dance and street entertainment. The parade's led by a float carrying the Queen of the Carnival, who, accompanied by her entourage, throws flowers into the crowds lining the streets. UNESCO has declared the parade a world masterpiece of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity.
The way that starts out is before the parade begins, there's 2 factions that are chosen, and these 2 factions gather up flowers and they have a war amongst themselves, whipping flowers at each other. And then probably as they're running out of flowers or they're in so many pieces they can't use them, they kind of come together, shake hands, and then move on to the parade. The next one, I'll show you the map here. This is called the Devil's Carnival. And this is in a town called Rio Sucio. And Monteria is very close to it. that's come up on the channel a number of times. A couple people are there or have been there. So that's where it's located. And the story on this one is it takes place every 2 years, only on odd years. So it didn't happen this year, but it will happen next year. And let's see, when was it? This started in 1814. Now, the deal on this, well, I should say it's January 2nd to the 7th, starts at 5 a.m., officially ends at midnight, but it typically, like in Colombia, drinking, partying goes on 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then starts all over again, or it never ends. But here's the deal. There were 2 towns back in the day, back in the 1800s, well, even prior to that. This went on for a long time. One town was Spanish and their black slaves. And the other town was indigenous people. Now, these towns were, if you were to look at it from the outside, you would think it was the same town. Where the center is, they were virtually connected. You had a church on one side, and you had essentially a church on the other side, but they were very different. And these 2 towns fought. They were like mortal enemies. And in 1814, 2 priests came up with this idea to get them to combine their town. And the town called Rio Sucio, which is kind of funny because that means dirty river. I didn't look that up, but it seems like an odd name to come up with. The original towns were Quebralomo, that was the Spanish, and the indigenous was La Montaña. So there was pretty fierce fighting, but they combined themselves and made this new town. And to bring people together, well, it started out, they didn't want people crossing before they came together. They didn't want people crossing and intermixing. And so one of the sides put up a devil to make people at the boundary line, to make people afraid to cross over. Well, when they combined the towns, that devil became a symbol of unity. So instead of being afraid of it, it's like they embraced it. And so every other year, every odd year, they have a Devil's Carnival. And here's
El carnaval de Río Sucio entonces se representa como por medio de un símbolo que es el diablo, un diablo que es bonachón, es alegre y que significa la unión, ¿sí? No es un diablo malvado ni bíblico.
I try to imagine some of these taking place in like another country and how that would go off. Colombia is something. Okay, the next one is the Festival del Burro. The Burro Festival. This is in where is it? Map. San Antero. They're on the coast. Today, it's a pretty poor community, hot as hell. But this started in the 1900s, so it's not that old. And what they do is show an
I'm not
appreciation.
quite sure how to help you with that.
What they do is show an appreciation
Años de
to these
ausencia
animals.
regresa uno de los eventos más tradicionales del departamento, el Festival Nacional del Burro, que este año llega a su edición 33, la cual se celebrará entre el 3 y el 9 de abril en el municipio de San Antero. Y es que desde el 2020 este festival no se llevaba a cabo debido a que se presentó la pandemia, y en 2021 y 2022 tampoco se realizó por las restricciones que impuso la misma. La burla, el sarcasmo y la idiosincrasia del ser caribe se verá reflejada en este evento, en el que año tras año los sananteranos ponen toda su imaginación en escena, disfrazando a estos animales que hacen parte de las faenas campesinas de las zonas rurales de esta región. Las festividades arrancan el lunes 3 de abril con una alborada musical, la cual recorre junto a bandas de viento propias del municipio las principales calles, y en la que participarán por lo menos 50 comparsas. El sábado 8 se desarrollará el Paseo de Judas, un evento que estará acompañado por conjuntos de gaitas, bandas de viento y los burros disfrazados, y cuya finalización será la elección del burro rey y su consorte, evento que espera la llegada de miles de visitantes, tanto.
They dress them up as superheroes. They'll dress them up in tuxedos. They have beauty contests. It cracks me up what they do here. One of the things that was one of the funniest things I ran into when I lived here years ago was I went to this park, Panaca, and they had pig races. They put little numbers on the side of pigs, and they had a racetrack, and a bunch of older men were up drinking beers and gambling amongst themselves. It was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. You'd hear the guy calling his pig, it was all in Spanish, but, porker number 3 rounding the corner, coming in home, it was hilarious. And they have all these weird things. There's other animal carnivals, but I chose this one. All right, next one is, what do we got next? The black and white carnival. Okay, the black, is that the next one? Yep. Black and white carnival. Well, I don't want to show that yet. I want to show the map. So it's located in Pasto. That's near the border of Ecuador. And if you've ever been there, you would think you were in Ecuador because the language, the Quichua, is there. They eat cuy. They dress like the indigenous dress in Ecuador. It's like a piece of Ecuador in Colombia. It's kind of weird, but they have this this festival, and this festival goes back to 1546, and originally this festival was started by two indigenous tribes. Can you guys hear that? Okay. Two tribes, indigenous tribes. And they were having a lot of problems. People will fight over anything. And this tribe was kind of like biased against this tribe. And so they came up with this black and white festival where they would mimic characteristics of the other, not in a mocking way, but in a way of, look, I can be like you, you can be like me. We're all the same under the whatever, the outfits and stuff like that. So that goes back to 1546. It was reinvigorated with the Spanish because the Spanish, wherever they were, they would have slaves. And so there was January 2nd after New Year's to the 7th, I believe. Didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. They would have this thing where on one day they would paint their faces black, and the next day they would paint their faces white and throw white powder, and they would just kind of intermix. So, you know, blackface was seen as a good thing, and whiteface was seen as a good thing, and it was a way to everybody, black, white, indigenous, whatever, to kind of cope with racial tensions. And it's worked pretty well for Colombia, the way they handle things. There's slight bits of it here and there, but for the most part, it is kind of a colorblind society. And this is the way they coped with it in Pasto. But there's a lot of other towns, particularly in the southern part of Colombia, actually have smaller versions of this. All right, let's take a look at that video. All right, now we're down to the last one. This last one doesn't have years of existence. It's only 15 years old. I just thought it was kind of funny. And here's the map. This is near Manizales, actually. It's in Caldas. A lot of agriculture, in particular, tomatoes. La Tomatino. Right? Yeah, La Tomatino, the tomato. And they copied this out of Italy. So it's been in Italy for, I don't know, 100 years or whatever. But they decided to do it here. And it's hard to get origins of some of this stuff. But supposedly, every harvest, and they grow crap ton of tomatoes. If you ever grew any, you know that you always get way more than you want. You know, zucchini and tomatoes is always, you know, way too much. And so they would get a lot, and they would bring them, you know, to town so that they could box them up and send them off and sell them. So you had this commercial area. What they would do is they would go through and they would find tomatoes that are kind of unsellable, you know, like they grew all weird, or they just, you know, not suitable for sale. And they would throw them in this big pile. And so this is what they do with them now.
Aquí hay mucho tomate. Miles de personas participaron el domingo en la guerra del tomate del municipio colombiano de Sutamarchán, Boyacá, un remedo de la famosa tomatina de Buñol en España, que también tiene su público y que gusta por igual a locales y foráneos.
Sí, me gusta mucho, todo el mundo está haciendo amigos, tirando tomates. Es muy bueno, es buena cultura. En mi país Japón no hay este tipo de eventos, por eso me gustó mucho.
Este evento anual comenzó a celebrarse en el año 2004 para apoyar a los productores locales. En la batalla a cielo abierto se utilizan tomates no aptos para el consumo.
Any excuse to party. So that's my list of 5 festivals that I found interesting, rather humorous. Yes, Tournament of Roses Parade, Pasadena. Thank you. Yeah, Tournament of Roses. That's what Renee, bonjour, Paris. On my way back home after a wonderful month in Colombia. Awesome. Awesome. So you didn't just have to watch it here. Michael, is anyone else having difficulty logging on to Coffee Time? Today it took almost 25 minutes to find the right box to click on. Well, if you use Rumble, you go right to it. No problems. I'm not originating the broadcast out of YouTube. So when I begin in Rumble, which has a placeholder so you can find Rumble before it starts broadcasting, but you can't find it in YouTube until I actually begin. And if you're in that page and you're not refreshing it, then the pop-up won't show. If you're subscribed, and you have the bell rung, you'll get a message telling you that it's begun. And then you just click on that message and you'll go right to it. But no, it's not pre-positioned anymore. I've kind of warned about this for a while. I'm not originating out of YouTube anymore. In Rumble, they don't mess with me. In YouTube, it never ends. I don't even know why I'm still sending it to YouTube. Habit, I guess. But it's not originating. There's certain things that just aren't going to be there. Okay, so that's what I have for today. How we doing? Got good for time. This morning, I got up at 3 o'clock. Yesterday, I got up at 2 o'clock. Went to bed at 11, which is earlier than usual. Today, I woke up at 3. I've been getting up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning this past week. I'm not sure why. But I don't know if you saw it. It was, I think, around 7 o'clock. SpaceX launched that big-ass rocket that was supposed to land and get grabbed by the Mechazilla, or the chopsticks, it's nicknamed. So it goes up, flies back down, and with retro rockets, positions itself in the exact spot and settles down on these two arms. A lot of people have said for a number of years, we're too far away from that. This is not possible. It's not going to happen. It's going to crash. It's going to all kinds of stuff. Well, this was their first attempt, and it was pretty amazing to watch, particularly if you have an understanding of the scale of this. This thing is massive. It is huge, and I can't imagine how many tons this thing weighs. It's got 10 million pounds of propellant when it takes off. But anyway, it came back. It did exactly what it was supposed to. They had camera angles, all kinds of different angles, and it landed exactly in the position it was supposed to, even rotated correctly. It was pretty amazing. And then the Starship that went up into orbit, did orbit, came back down. That one, they didn't land that way. They did a pseudo-controlled position landing in the ocean. But it landed exactly where it was supposed to. So it was a flawless flight. It was amazing, because these flights are test flights. Test flights where things are supposed to go wrong and blow up once in a while. And this thing was flawless. It was quite amazing. So that was pretty cool this morning. Had me mesmerized. I watched all of that for about an hour. Because within a few minutes, the booster came back, and that was pretty amazing. I'm sure you'll be seeing shots of this all over YouTube for the next month. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, because I'm winding to a halt here. I'm sorry that our podcast seems like it's taken forever to get to it. I will get to it. I'm stubborn. It's going to happen. And once we get it going and everything's working fine and the microphones are all good, I'm going to start doing some new things that I think will be interesting. In the meantime, it looks like you're stuck with me like this for another few weeks. You know, got to have the right microphone. So, got no questions, no other comments. So I guess the last thing I have to say is go Bills. Fingers crossed. Here's hoping. And I will see you next week.
Bye.